In this lesson, we'll take a look at how we can include and exclude objects from individual light calculations. Alright, so in this scene we have our little teacup, and you can see right now there are actually two lights in our scene. Actually, one of each is casting some kind of a shadow. So what we want to do is take a look at how we can include and exclude objects from an individual light. So let's go ahead and expand this view. Now we actually have three lights in the scene, two of which are casting shadow, and then the other which is just kind of a fill light for us. Now these two are the ones that are actually going to be the focus of our lesson. So there may be a situation, and there may actually be lots of instances, where you would either want one individual object to cast or receive shadows from a particular light, or there may be a lot of instances where there's maybe just one object that you don't want to receive shadows or receive any illumination from just one particular light source. So this is actually a very straightforward process to do in Max. All we need to do is select the light that we want to either include or exclude from the illumination. With that light selected, just go down underneath this Shadows roll out here underneath the General Parameters and click on this button that says Exclude. Alright. So we have two columns. This column on the left-hand side is all of the geometry in our scene that's currently being affected by this light. And this column on the right-hand side is all the objects that will not be affected by the light. So if we wanted to take this coffee cup and the saucer and move them both over into this left-hand or this right-hand column, click OK. And now what we should see is that we now have just these shadows that are coming from one particular source. Now looking at this, I may have accidentally, it looks like I accidentally put the saucer in there instead of the handle. So let's add the coffee cup and the coffee handle. There we go, that's much better. So now we have just these particular objects that are no longer receiving any kind of illumination from this one particular light source. Alright. So you can see we now have shadows that are traveling in this direction, and we also have shadows that are moving in this other direction as well, as far as the actual saucer is concerned. But if you take a look at the cup, you can see that there is actually a shadow being cast up in this direction from this other light, but coming from this other direction there are no shadows, and actually no illumination whatsoever, as far as this cup and the handle are concerned. Alright, so we can actually get a little bit more control with this. So if we wanted to go back to this, we could either tell an object to be excluded from the illumination, excluded from the shadow casting, or excluded from both. Let's say maybe we just wanted this object to be excluded from the shadow casting, but we still wanted it to receive illumination. Just turn off that shadow option. There we go. And now you can see that there is now illumination on this object from that second light, but no shadows. And we can actually do just the opposite. We could tell it to be excluded from the illumination, but it should still receive shadows if we turn on this illumination option. Give this a moment, and there we go. Alright, so a very high level of control that we have with this particular setup, and really it's doing something very similar to what we were able to do with the object properties as far as disabling an object's ability to either cast or receive shadows. The difference, though, is that if we adjust an object here in the object properties, it's going to disable the casting of the shadows for all the different lights in our scene. So this object would actually cast no shadows whatsoever. This, however, gives us a little extra level of control because we can control the receiving of shadows and illumination on a per light, on a per object basis. So what we should see is if I render this, is that I have now two sources of illumination and two sources of shadow casting as far as this saucer is concerned, but as far as the cup and the handle are concerned, we only have one source of illumination and one source of shadow casting. Alright, so that's a look at how we can use these different light exclusion methods within 3ds Max.